feed my 7-day addiction.
All right, guys, we are live on the air, so that was pretty quick. So, yep. So sorry for the delay there. We had a little bit of issues getting started, but we are here. So thanks for tuning in. We've got 10 people watching us right now, and people continue to tune in. So, so welcome to the Art of Fishing Show. This is episode 6 today. Basically, this show is where we share and help people spread the love and passion for fishing, and we talk about different fishing-related topics. And today, actually, we got a really interesting topic. I'm actually really excited about this.
Yeah.
I know Fabian and I were talking about this over the last few days. Or actually a few weeks.
Yeah.
And so actually, we're really excited about this. Everyone's hyped up. We're getting messages on our phone. So thank you to you guys for coming out here. So I'd like to introduce our guests here. So some of you guys may recognize them. They're all over the valley here, all over fishing tournaments, winning them, and
Yeah, I'm Victor. Oh,
Yeah.
you talking about me?
yeah. No, but today's guests, we actually have Wayne Davis and Ernest Cisneros, and they're going to be talking about their Empty Stringers program. So welcome everybody, and welcome guys, and let's go ahead and jump right into it. So.
Well, thank you for having us, and we're glad to be here.
Certainly are. And since we're on the air, I want to clear the air, like I told you when I walked in, on why we're late. And it's this is this location is 1222 West Monte Cristo, right?
Yes.
Well, I went to 12222 West Monte Cristo, and there's a house there, nice family. They just didn't have any media stuff set up, so I figured I'd give you all a call and try to find the right
There
place.
you go. I'm glad you're here.
That's why we're late.
Yeah, you went a little bit too far.
Yep. So definitely, thanks, guys. So before we get too much into this, let's actually, I'd like for you guys to introduce yourselves, talk a little bit about your background, and we'll start with Ernest here.
Okay, my name is Ernest Cisneros, and I guide on the Lower Laguna Madre. And, my preference is wade fishing with artificials. And I've been guiding for about 17 years. And absolutely love what I'm doing with a passion, and have a conservation mind in my business as every time we go out. So I pride myself in not offering a fish market attitude. I offer an experience. So if you're going to come with me, you're going to get an experience. I don't sell fish markets, although my clients do keep fish. 50% of my clients are release and 50% keep. There's nothing wrong with that as long as it's the limits. But I do have certain limitations on my trips where we release all snook that my clients catch. We release any trout over 23 inches. And then I don't push it, but I offer the Empty Stringers program.
Okay.
So I do try to keep a conservation minded in my profession.
Yeah, Wayne Davis. I'll touch real quick on Ernest. Something that he failed to mention that should be mentioned, in my opinion, is Ernest is a retired school teacher. He is a public sector science teacher. 20 some odd.
28 years, actually.
28
It's an
years.
experience.
So he's got some science behind his fishing strategy. I'm retired law enforcement, 22 years law enforcement, and been guiding since 2005 out of Port Mansfield, my home base. Exclusive wade fishing, artificial only. Same story that Ernest is talking about. Release all snook. Trout, I'm more around the 21-inch rule to release those. I had got some good information on why. I went to a CCA meeting recently as of Wednesday, and it gave me some tips on why we should release trout or keep trout 21 and under just for the food source.
Okay.
Right. But anyway, long and short of it, I fish out of Mansfield. Guiding there now, I'm full-time after retiring a couple of years ago. Wade fishing, Empty Stringers, same thing as Ernest mentioned.
And just to put it into context, so you guys are full-time guys, and you guys fish a lot. So just to help kind of put it into frame, like how many days a year would you guys estimate you guys fish?
Well, I've said this before. I retired from teaching about 4 years ago. And my first year retirement, I ran 230 trips.
Wow.
And I took a step back and said, what am I doing? I'm trying to enjoy life here also as well. And so I cut down the following year, and I've cut down again, this year in that because I'm traveling a lot. I love to travel, and one of my goals is I have a bucket list of fish, and I want to accomplish it, and I'm trying to accomplish that. And I take about 6-7 big trips a year.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay.
You know, so
Nice.
yeah.
Good deal.
Enjoying life.
Enjoying fishing. Yeah.
I think just to put it into perspective, I mean, that's the one big reason I think we wanted you guys to actually agree to be on the show is just the knowledge I think that we're going to get out of here. So I'm hoping people tune in because just that experience alone, it says a lot, and it's mind-boggling to me, you know, to be able to be on the water that much and have that knowledge and that passion that you have. So I think talking about the next couple of topics is going to be very, very interesting. So
You know, let me share this one story. I won't mention the name, but very early in the morning, I was at a stripe store, and I was in line trying to get a taco, and ran into another guide, and don't know him that well, and we were in line, and I said, we started a conversation. It came up to, tomorrow I'm going on vacation. He goes, where are you going? He goes, I'm going to Florida. I'm going to go fishing. He goes, fishing on your vacation? I said, absolutely. Where else would I go?
true.
And Wayne, how often are you out on the water?
Last year I fished 180 days, and I want to find myself around 150 to 180.
Okay.
I think that's a comfortable spot. I travel a lot. Ernest and I do a lot of fishing adventures together, and I think that's a good balance. You know, we're retired, right?
Yeah.
We're retired. So we like to have a good balance, and I think the 150 to 180 mark is comfortable because it gives us time with our families to travel and then get plenty of fishing in.
Absolutely. So one of the reasons I was asking that question was just to put it into context that you guys fish a lot. Like, you guys spent a lot of time in the water. I mean, this is a 1 year you spend more time than I spend. In 1 month, you probably spend more time than I do out there. So you guys have a lot of experience out there, and that's I just really wanted to frame that for our audience, that you guys know a lot about fishing and spend a lot of time out there. So we'll go ahead and start talking about really why we're here today, about talking the Empty Stringers program. So will one of you guys share kind of an overview of what the Empty Stringers program is?
Well, Wayne is good at that.
Okay.
I volunteer him.
Well, I'll put it in, I'll just summarize how it started.
You got to speak it a little bit closer. Yeah.
I'll summarize how it started, right? What came up with the idea. Ernest and I run several double trips, which basically means we have a big group of people and we need 2 boats to take them fishing. And we were running trips, and fishing was good on particular trips. And we would just have an abundance of fish. I mean, everybody had a limit, right? So you can imagine 8 to 10 guys. Everybody's got their limit of everything, excluding snook. It was, So Ernest says, "Man, this is pretty. A lot of fish here, and so we thought, man, let's think of something else. Are they even eating all these fish? I mean, can it happen?
Right.
Sure it can. Of course it can. And so that got us to thinking, because it was really a slaughter fest, so to speak. And we've all been there.
Yep.
We've all started there. We've done it. We've been there. So we thought, well, the Lower Laguna Madre is relatively a small body of water. It's shallow. A lot of fishing guides, a lot of recreational fishermen. Let's just think of some conservation-minded approach to satisfying clients and then preserving the fishery at the same time.
Yep.
And that's really what got us thinking about it. And Ernest said, well, what about an empty stringer? Okay, so it evolved from there. The name.
And what year was that? How long ago was that?
3 solid years
Yeah,
ago.
3 solid years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
How long did it take from the idea to making it a concept that y'all started talking about it? Was it in the next trip that y'all said, hey, we're going to try it out?
Well, what certainly helps is that we got pretty good sponsors. And the sponsors that we got, they also are conservation-minded companies. So all it took is some phone calls and say, hey, this is what we're starting, and would you be part of it? And right away, they thought it was a great idea, and we had no problem in getting, what would you call it, swag items?
Swag items.
Swag items that we give at the end of each trip that is an Empty Stringers trip. So you may get a T-shirt, a baseball cap, a sun buff, what other things?
Some Yeti tumblers was an
Yeah.
and there's different levels. If you catch something over 28 inches for us on a trout or a snook,
yeah.
then you get a little something a little nicer.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we got the swag items, and And then we also, we need to also reward from all the participants of Empty Stringers. We would gather their names and phone number, and we would drop it in a box. And at the Holder Fishing Show in March, every March, he draws a winner, and I draw a winner of my group, and he draws a winner of his group. And so that's a major prize that, again, our major sponsors have volunteered to donate the items, and they're equivalent to about $1,200 to $1,300
pretty
in
valuable,
dollar
yeah,
value.
yeah. So who are some of your sponsors that support this here locally?
So,
Or
yeah,
nationally?
the major sponsors that, voluntarily help and gladly help Empty Stringers is Sims,
Okay.
AFCO, Costa, Ron Hoover, who else am I missing? Power Pole.
Shallow Sport Boats, SCB, K. Wiggler Lures.
So you got a lot. I mean, this is
Yeah.
a big program, right? You got a lot of sponsors, and obviously, like based on the size of the companies or the sponsors you had, I mean, they take this conservation very serious, and it's awesome to hear that
And-
they support you guys.
Yeah, and they're very supportive. I mean, we were at ICAST this past July, and we were totally flipped out that we were telling some of the people that maybe did not know about our empties or had heard of it but didn't know exactly what it consisted of, and they volunteered. You know what? We want to donate a pair of waders. We want to donate a power pole, micro power pole. And we're like, wow, well, you got to wait because we already got someone for this year, maybe for the following year, and then the following year. So we
awesome.
got already.
And when you say like they get to put their name, in this drawing or whatever, are these clients of yours
That's right.
that participate in the program?
Correct.
And now, is that participating for that particular trip, or do they are they participants? Pretty much for the rest.
It's
of
a year to year.
Okay, so it's a year to year.
It's Ernest is year. And to answer your question, Ernest started his Empty Stringers program in March.
Okay.
Of 3 years ago. I was still working at the time, and I said, I'm not going to get into the full-blown I'm still doing conservation stuff, but I chose to wait out until I was fully retired so that I would have a clean slate going into the program. So he started in March. I started in January, right?
Okay.
9 months later. So my year is January to January. His year is March to March. So it's on a year basis. So if you fish with us, you're good for that year, and
Okay.
we'll do that drawing in March
Yep.
at the Holder Fishing Show. And one other thing I'd like to mention, Texas Saltwater Fishing Magazine and also Fishing Tackle Unlimited are one of our major sponsors.
Major
Yeah.
sponsors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, I put you guys here on the spot here. I know there's a lot of people that add to this, and I don't expect you guys to know everyone off the top of your head. Kind of the point is that there's a lot of big people or a lot of big companies that take this very serious conservation of our fishing areas and our bays, and they support the program that you guys do. And that's important for us as fishermen to recognize that, hey, it's not just me or someone, like everyone recognizes that conservation helps a lot of people, and these are companies that are putting prizes and stuff behind their conservation philosophies and thoughts on it. So
That's correct.
yeah. So when someone reaches out to you to go fishing with you guys, like, do they know about the custom or the Empty Stringers program, or is it something you have to educate them about?
I think I can.
Go ahead.
So let's say I get a phone call, and it's somebody I've never fished before, and I say, we talk about the dates and whatsoever, the other information. I say, hey, do you want to keep fish? And they say, what? They don't know what I'm talking about. I said, or
Sorry,
would you
sir,
like?
I got the wrong number.
Yeah, no.
Or would you like to participate in Empty Stringers? And so that kind of drives. Well, what is Empty Stringers? Well, if you come with me, you get at the end of the trip, you get a door prize, and then you get a raffle ticket, and you can get $13, $14, or $12 to $1,300 worth of door prizes in the end of March. You know what? I've got fish in my freezer. I don't need to go, kill some more fish. Or you know what? I'll just I keep the fish I catch here in my. I want to go over your home waters because of the bigger fish, the pristine waters, and so on. So that's how I kind of present the program. In no way do we ever force the program to anyone. We just offer it.
Okay.
Great.
It's very similar.
Let me ask you a question. So when somebody reaches out to you and you talk to them about the Empty Stringer program, and you're already on the water, and they decide, oh man, I really want to keep this fish. Is there any wiggle in there?
No.
No.
It's set
Now-
in stone before.
Set in
when
stone.
get-
So you make the
pretty much-
decision beforehand, like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, empty stringer.
Before.
Yeah, because
empty
what if
stringer.
you have a slow day and it's 4:00 in the afternoon? So, well, we hadn't caught any fish today. I'm gonna do an empty stringers day today.
Now,
You're right.
now it doesn't
That
count
doesn't happen
against
with you
them.
guys, though.
If sometimes, and it has happened where a trout, inhales the hook way down
Yeah.
deep, and eventually it's going to die. We keep it, and they get taken home, but it doesn't count against them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're
And-
not wasting fish.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah, different scenario. Yeah.
So, but what's really neat is over the years, more and more people are hearing about it. Anglers from all over the coast, and even from I just had one about 3 weeks ago from Nebraska, and it participant in empty stringers is when they're calling. Some of the groups are saying we want to participate in empty stringers.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all have a great program going, and we're all about letting the fish go.
Yep.
Yep.
So absolutely. So that's definitely glad to see that the reach is expanding across other outside of here, Texas.
One
So-
other valuable negotiating point that occurs, because not many people come to Port Mansfield or South Padre Island to fish one day.
Okay.
It's usually a 2-day trip, right? It's a trip. So a lot of folks are electing to keep fish one day and empty stringers the next day, which
Okay.
is
Perfectly fine. Yeah.
great. Yeah, it's a great compromise.
And that's kind of the gist of it, right? Just take enough fish that you need or that you're
You're going to consume.
Yeah,
You're
you're
not
gonna
just going to
consume,
keep
not
it in the
just-
freezer for years.
Yeah.
In no way do we come across that we're fish huggers. In no way. We like to eat fish too.
Yeah.
But if we can help just a little bit and be the example out there that we love our profession and we want our profession to continue for many, many years. And for those of us, for the profession to continue, for those of them behind us,
Yep.
if we can do a little part, that's what we want to be about.
Good to know. And so outside of you two, are there any other captains that are empty stringer or have that program?
That, this is nothing new. I do not give credit. This is nothing new what we started. We just made it go out on social media more, I think.
Put a name to
because,
it.
You put a name to it. You're right.
Because a lot of guides over the years, and I remember one, Captain Jesse Arasola, that's now in Fishing Heaven, and he would offer, and we had a talk even before Empty String, that he would knock off $50 off his price for, if they released all his fish. So it's not a new concept. It's been around, and a lot of guides all over the coast, and I'm sure over the country do it. But we, again, like Captain Wayne said, we put a name to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's important, having a name behind it, because now we have a product, or we have something that we can look forward to. Say, hey, I'm going to go out fishing with these guys, and I know that I'm going to be part of the Empty Stringer Challenge. It's awesome.
Yeah. And
I do a lot of Empty Stringer challenges because I don't catch anything. Right? So I call it that when I don't catch.
Yeah, and so absolutely. So I do think one thing that really stands out, and based on that, even that the example you said right now, is that someone's willing to put something on the line for conservation, right? So in this case, it was $50 off a discount. Someone says here we're donating these prizes to it, right? So I think when guides do that, like it shows that they internally care about it, right? It's not like, okay, well, we're going to go empty stringers, but I'm still going to, whatever, charge you whatever. Like, no, like this is going to impact me or other, it's going to impact other people, and we're willing to make this sacrifice to a greater good, a greater cause.
And
Conservation.
I just want to add a little bit. It has not taken away from the number of trips I run.
Yep.
Actually, I'm getting the best of the best fishermen because, that conservation-minded fisherman is more than likely, been around, the world to fish other areas and is pretty experienced, and they just want to come over here just to get the experience and catch the bigger fish.
And I think that's exactly right. I mean, I think that's what this program is. It's, and we were talking about this a little bit before. What you're selling is really the fishing experience. You're not selling, fish. People who want fish, they can go buy it at the grocery store,
lot
right?
cheaper.
It's a lot cheaper, right? And so, you're selling this experience of coming out there, being outside, learning about fishing patterns, working about lures, whatever it is you're teaching them, right? It's this entire package that people are paying for who want to be a part of, and that's really what you're selling. And I think that's hard for people that are used to. I mean, we talked about this again earlier, where you think that, well, I'm going to go with the guides. I need to come back. It's like I'm buying fish. I need to come back with a lot of it, and it's a different mindset, and you have to get there, right? Or in order to achieve what we're trying to achieve.
And I have some really good clients over the years that they eat a lot of fish, and they come down and fish with me once a year or twice a year. And they want to keep whatever the limit is,
Right.
as long as they follow, my guidelines, which I explained earlier. And they keep the fish. And you know what? I just finished talking to someone last week, and he said, I'm eating the last batch of the redfish on a half shell.
Oh, that's why I was calling you, to book you
so
again to go out there and get
he's,
some more fish.
he's eating the fish, and
Yep.
great, that's fine. But if somebody's going to come and catch a fish and they're going to end up freezer burn,
Yep.
which, by the way, I will admit is I know that it happens a lot where those fish are caught and it gets freezer burn, because I consider myself a conservationist, and I have had freezer burn fish even within this year, and not because I kept them, because again, my clients were flying, and the trout, or two got deeply inhaled and they were going to die. I took the fish home, and it stayed in the freezer. Because number one, I really don't eat fish a whole lot. I love a steak, but I had fish that stayed and got freezer burned. So I can see where out there.
happens,
How
yeah.
often does that happen?
It happens
Ask
quite
yourself.
often. Yeah, quite often. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, like, my rule of thumb is I'll bring home the fish that's not going to get frozen. And sometimes it's especially when I go fishing, I don't catch a lot of fish. But when I do, it's like, okay, well, now I'm gonna call my tia, and I'm gonna call my tio, and like they're my grandpa, and they're gonna eat, like, this fish is for my dad, this one's for my grandpa, and this one's for them.
I took
right?
your grandpa fish.
Yeah, even Victor takes fish now to my grandpa now. But yeah, I mean, it's that mindset. But my mindset is I'm never gonna freeze any fish. Like, it's just we're gonna eat it within the first 2-3 days, and if I don't know anybody that's gonna eat it, then we're not going to bring it. So.
The right attitude.
Yeah, and we're just trying. I mean, influence and education, I think, goes a long way, longer than force feeding it on folks and pushing it real hard. We're just, because I'm relatively young. Ernest is relatively young. We want to be able to continue to fish and have successful fishing trips, trophy fishing trips. And the only way to do that is to, preserve those genetically gifted fish that need to be returned back out.
And that's the experience, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
it's the
the
experience. You're catching a 30, 32-inch, whatever, big trout or big fish, right? And that's what do you value that over, having a freezer full of fish?
And not only that, like you said, we're not forcing that on anybody. I think if somebody buys into it on their own, it's a lot more meaningful to them. It's not like if they're making me do it. No, they're doing it on their own because they believe in it, and that's the person that's gonna basically jump on what you're doing and allow that conservation to occur. Whether you're kind of throwing it down their throats or like, well, I'll do it now, but I'm not gonna do it when they're not around. It's like those people who really buy into it on their own are gonna do it when you're not around, and hopefully push that to the next person that they fish with.
I want to give hats up to Eric Adubi, which he doesn't know that I'm saying this, but
does
he's
now.
been
He's watching. So
he's watching. Good. I congratulate you, buddy. I've never told you this, but Eric has been one that's been fishing with me for quite a bit, and he first couple of times I don't think he kept fish, and then he started buying into the idea of the empty stringers, and now, when he comes with me, it's empty stringers, but then when he goes out fishing, he sends me texts or pictures of releasing them, and he's participating in empty stringers himself. We know the program is working, and that's great, and I congratulate you, buddy.
Yeah, Eric's a good one, no doubt about it. What a supporter.
I think when you fish with somebody like you are that is into conservation, it rubs into you, because I go with this young guy, his name is Monty, and he caught a 30-inch, about 30-plus trout with me, and he was excited. He released it, and I was just like, oh, you can release, that's a trophy trout. Well, then I had the chance to catch a 28, and I was with them, and he not forced me, but he was like, hey, let's release it, let's take a video, and I was like, great.
Pushed him a little bit.
I released it, but it felt good, but it rubbed up a little bit. It's like, man, okay, now I know what it's about. It's not just always about keeping other fish. Then we were another time, and I kept about 3 trout, and they actually released I didn't catch any reds, and they released all the reds that they caught. Every red they was released, and I asked him, why'd you release them? And he says, because I have fish still at the house.
Yeah.
So that's rubbing off of me.
Yeah, that's people doing what they love to do. So people love to go out and be on the water and catch fish, right? And it's like you can do it, but like if you catch 1,000 fish, you're not going to keep 1,000 fish because you can't physically do anything with 1,000 fish other than, a lot of it will go to waste, right? So it's people going out there, but him having a fresh fish at home is not going to stop him from doing what he loves to do.
Sure.
And that's kind of what you guys are, or that's exactly what you guys are promoting as well too.
And where I was going with that is, we might go with you all one time for the empty stringer, but y'all might not know that we're doing it now because we had that experience with it and say, hey, we don't need to keep.
But now we
all
can
these fish.
hashtag empty stringer, right?
That's right.
Hashtag empty stringer, and everyone to know, and that if we're all doing this. So
And yeah, the education part of it is a big thing. I'll be the one to say, I'm not. When I started releasing fish, it was kind of like, oh man, my dad hated to fish with me because I would release fish. He was like, hey, that's a good, that fits in a tortilla, it's good to go. And I was old school.
I heard
my
him
dad.
say that one time.
Yeah, that tortilla is good to go. My dad's also in fish heaven, and he's probably mad at me. He's like, hey, keep that fish, man. And it's just like, man, it's not always about keeping that fish.
That was the mentality that we were brought up.
Correct.
with.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's how I grew
that
up.
was growing up. That was fishing
That's
for
it.
us. Like that's how fishing success was measured. It wasn't about going out there and having a good time. I mean, that was the secondary thing, right? The first thing was about how much fish did you guys bring home, right? Or when's the fish fry, right?
right.
Or whatever. Or a lot of times, like you would say, like, hey, we're so and so's birthday party's 2 weeks. We got to go.
gotta get a
we
fish
got to
fry.
go catch some fish for the party. So
I think it's also how you grow up with me because I grew up right around the corner, and when we would go fish, like I have 7 brothers and sisters, so we would go fish. It's like
You better bring your
we're gonna go fish, bring fish home,
Yeah.
and it was very hard for me to kind of get into this mindset of going to go fishing for the enjoyment of going fishing,
Right.
and not having to bring back fish. Same thing. I have a fish sitting there in a freezer bag, and not being eaten. But again, when you grow up with that mentality of we're gonna go fishing because we need to bring back fish, to eat. And it's like, it's hard to break that, but I think when you do break that, like Victor said, you do enjoy it. And it is a different feeling, of actually catching it, taking a picture, and
I
releasing
feel
it.
more like a sportsman. I
Exactly.
feel more like, I'm here for a sport instead of I'm just here to catch a fish.
For a
And it's-
trophy.
and it's great. It's great. But education is a big part of it. Like they say, knowledge is power. And when we know what the conservation means and what we're going to be able to leave for our kids, that's when your mind starts changing. Say, okay, now I see things different. Like
Well,
I
that-
said,
you know,
my
wh-
dad was bring it, cook it,
Yeah.
eat it.
Well, even Wayne touched about that right now. He talked about things that he learned through the CCA around different sizes of fish, right? So that's part of the experience, the awareness, right? You continue to evolve as an angler, but you can become more aware of how the fishing ecosystem works, and you learn. But you have to learn.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables that play into a good fishery. You got habitat, you have management, you've got environmental issues. I mean, there's a zillion different things, and we're just a little bitty piece of that, of the pie. So it makes sense for us to do our part, as small of a piece that it is, or big, because a small Laguna Madre can get overfished.
Or you see it. I mean, every week, and whenever you take your boat out to Port Mansfield, you have to park,
Yep.
several places around. And growing up, it wasn't like that. But there's a lot more people on the water, and people are bringing back limits. So yeah, I think the people part is growing, is
Sure it is.
being more significant. So.
I remember fishing the Arroyo, the Adolph Tomei Park, back in the late 80s, early 90s, where there was only 2 rows of cars parked, and everybody knew everyone. Everybody would say good morning, hello, and all that. And it's completely changed. A lot more pressure, a lot more boats out there. And if you weren't fishing back in the late 80s, early 90s, and if you think that, and our fishery's good, we have a real good fishery,
The best.
but can you imagine the way it was in the 80s and early
absolutely.
90s? It was phenomenal.
Absolutely.
I
Believe
mean,
it.
and back then was 5 redfish limit, and 15, 20 minutes you could go into rattlesnake, you could go into paintings and limit out. I mean, it was to the point where it's so easy that I would be sight casting and I'd throw a Kelly Wiggler, of course, and
In 1985,
When they were around then.
and
the prototype.
and I would sight cast a redfish, and right when he was going to grab it, I'd literally yank it out of its mouth or out of the water up in the air so he wouldn't take it. That's how much fun we would have. That's how many fish we'd have. Now, I mean, we struggle. We got to grind for those fish, It doesn't always come easy as
You're
it
working.
used to.
And I think you touched on that, and it's like the availability of people having a boat. It wasn't as common back in even the late 80s, it wasn't as common for people to have boats. And right now, it's like you drive around and you're going to see 4 or 5 boats being pulled on any given time.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing also. It's like, you have this availability of these people to get to those places that nobody was able to get to before. And another thing, I don't even know if it's in something I've always been upset about, is tournaments. I see these big tournaments down here in the valley, and I do the math. And I'm like, you're talking 200-300 boats or 150 boats even at 3 fish, at 2 fish, whatever they're weighing in. That is a lot of fish being on one day, And I go to Corpus, which is 2 hours away, not that far away, and they're doing a live weigh-in, and they're doing a release after the live weigh-in. It's like, why can't we take a part of that? It's not hard to do.
We're seeing little bits and pieces of it, from my understanding. It's just but it's going to take people like Wayne and Ernest to kind of get us to that point. Like just some of the people that are sought after, or the people that are kind of seen as role models here in this area, to kind of change in the people's behaviors and thoughts toward it.
It's evolving into that, and it's going to get there. But again, you can't force feed it. Even though we might want to. Like tomorrow, every fish is nothing over 21 allowed to be weighed in. And there's tournament formats that are already starting to get there, right?
That was where it's going with that, yeah.
Yeah, so, it's getting there, and oxygen systems and live wells in boats these days, are better than they were back then, so fish can stay alive longer. Water temperature has a little bit to do with that, especially with trout, and so. But anyway, it's getting there. I guess it's getting closer.
And now that we're touching that base, I just got back from Florida, 2 days ago, and through PowerPole they held a fishing tournament, and in that tournament it was what they called the slam. So it was a redfish, a trout, and a snook, and their method of weighing in is called was you catch it, you photograph it. Well, you measure it, you photograph it, and release it. That's how you determine who the winner was. So they're releasing everything. And then I just had to get off the boat there. And, while everybody was fishing on the boat, and I side casted, I saw, good 19, maybe I threw at 19 fish, 1 redfish and trout and some snook. And I noticed that they wouldn't even pay attention to it. They'd just take off, from the lure. And then we drifted a couple of times, and we caught some fish. Nothing, not a lot of big trout. Maybe biggest was 17 and a half. A lot of little ones. And then we went up to another flat, and I got dropped off again. And as we were there, I was wading this flat, and I noticed this boat in front of me was out grabbing the pilchards and tossing them out into the water. And as my boat came to pick me up, I said, "What is he doing?" And he was still throwing them. He was probably maybe about 100 yards from me. Oh, he's what do they call baiting? Is that what they call it? Chumming.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. It's gotten to that point where they draw the fish, and as they draw the fish, they're eating the pilchards, and then they throw their bait or they throw their artificial in there. I said, man, it has to get to that point. And it kind of made me think like, man, I would hate for our lower Laguna Madre or any Texas coast to get to that point where we have to chum for the fish.
Yeah.
And that's deep in my heart, and that I want to be a conservation. I want to be on the front lines where I can be that example, or me and Captain Wayne be the example.
Yep.
And I welcome you, like the Eric, where you be that example, because you have a community to touch, as we have a community to touch as well. And you always set an example by educating. You never put people down. You just educate them.
A lot of
never
people don't
shove
have
it
that
down the throat.
perspective, right? They just it's all they know. It's how they've grown up, right? They just don't know. They don't. Yeah, it's how they were raised, and it's everything they know. So
I think just the community again, exactly, and the culture. I mean, if you're not, surrounding yourself with those people, and not purposely, but if you don't want to learn, about your abilities, I think the more you want to learn about fishing, then you try to gravitate to those people who know about fishing, y'all included. So when you try and meet these people, you learn from these people in these different aspects. But when you're still in that same mindset and then just fishing with the same people and over again, well, you're never going to, get out of that, because you're not seeing that. And I think just, having a program like that, just being heard and being talked about, then people are going to ask questions, okay, what is it? So there's that introduction and that first introduction about it. And, they may take, note of it and want to do it.
Have you ever thought about extending the program to other guides?
It's individually based. Any guide can they're doing it with $50 discount, or
Right.
they might go to their rod sponsor and say, "Hey, I want to do catch and release. Can you donate a rod to me?"
Rod
And
sponsor.
There you go.
Rod
Hey,
sponsor.
there you go. And then at the end of the year, they keep their track of their fish and their angler, and then they get a rod at the end of the year and a free trip, because we offer a free trip as part of our package.
Okay.
I think we may have
Yep.
breezed over that. But a rod, a reel, or anything, any guide can put it together their unique package to offer to their clients if they so choose. I mean, that's what we did.
Yeah.
And we got also invited. We were fortunate to get invited to what's an event in Florida called Slack Tide, and so we're going to be presenters, and we're going to be able to present, Empty Stringers program to guys.
You did
in
that
Florida.
article on y'all, right? Is that the one who did the article on y'all, or
No, that was Flatsworthy.
Flatsworth? That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's hard for some guys, especially like the guys that are part-time guys, and they may not have the sponsors, and they may not have the ways to kind of come up with a program to kind of get out there. But like you said, just a $50
Be
discount,
creative.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
come
you
up
can
with
be
whatever it comes up to
creative.
you, and just selling it to that. And yeah, and I think like conversations, these events that you're going to talk about, it's going to change people's awareness around this, and it's just like, oh, okay, well, we can do this, and we want our fishing to continue to be great 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, and this is why we're doing it.
True or not true, several times, and it got mentioned again on this trip that I just got back from Florida. They said, "Where are you from?" From Texas. "Oh, you Texans, y'all like to kill a lot of fish, including Louisiana." That's the,
Oh, there's a state line, and
mentality.
things change a lot between the state lines.
that's how Floridans look at us, because if you know
Fish killers.
anything about Florida, they're very conservation minded.
So just to educate our viewers, what are the limits on fish in Florida?
Man,
It's lean. It's lean, and I'll tell you how lean it is.
Or specifically on redfish, I guess.
I think you said one red, right?
I don't know.
okay, just in Tampa Bay area, in that area, because of the red tide, they've had a closed fishing season for over a year now. That means that you cannot keep a single fish in the bay, redfish, trout, snook, flounder, for over a year now.
Wow.
And he did say, the person that was running the boat, I said, has it helped your fishery? And he said, absolutely.
Yep.
But it still hasn't rebounded to what it was. But again, they have closed season, period.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, or in Florida, it's one redfish per day per person, and like you said, like they're fishing's so great there that you go out there and you catch your fish, and it's a matter of choosing which fish you want, because you're just catching them so often.
Florida's not that good.
No, it's not.
Florida fishery is not as good as, some areas. The
Okay.
areas that we fish in Florida when we go, it's not as good as we have it here.
Okay.
in Lower Laguna. I can
right, maybe
promise
that's
you
what-
that.
So maybe they're trying to recover then.
They're recovering.
Yeah, that's where these regulations come from.
And that brings a point. We don't want to get to recovery
Yeah, we
stage.
don't want to have to chum, and we don't have to.
We want it to continue flourishing, and that's what we're doing.
And it's real simply put, clearly. It's a lot easier to keep up than to play catch up.
Yeah.
And if you can keep up, then you're ahead of the game.
I like to use the analogy. If you have a fish bowl of golf balls, and every day you just go in there and you grab one, but you never replenish, you never put one back, what's going to happen to the bowl?
Yeah.
It's going to get empty. And that's the same thing with our fishery.
So I mean, a lot of this is Empty Stringers is really tied to conservation, right? And so we have the CCA here in Texas, and then we have Texas Park and Wildlife that does management. So what kind of engagement or communication or dialogue is there between this program around that? Like you said, hey, we are seeing increased fishes, or how does their information or their studies direct you? Maybe they're saying that, yeah, we do have a problem, we don't have a problem, we're okay, the limits are fine where they're at.
Yeah, well, the limits weren't fine where they at because they just lowered it up to Texas coast to 5 trout.
Right.
So they're aware that something is needed, and they took action to I guess address that particular section of the coast. It's been 10 years here in the Lower Laguna Madre, maybe a little bit longer than 10 years. So it's worked its way up the coast for a reason, because of studies. But again, a lot of it is management, environmental pressure, cyclical It's just a lot of components. And I tried to pin the guy down at the CCA meeting on Wednesday night about this. But again, he told me the exact same thing. Yeah, there's a slight decline in larger specs in the lower Laguna Madre. He went that far.
Okay.
A slight decline in larger specs because I wanted to know where they're at.
Yep.
Right? Some days you have good days, some days you don't. So having said that, I guess back to your point, they are managing the state the best that they can, but the law is generally speaking reactive.
Reactive, right.
In
It's
nature,
after the
right?
fact.
Yeah, so we need to do something about the trout. We'd lower it down to 5, right? Well, if we can just try to stay ahead of that or keep pace with it, we're going to be better off.
When the trout limit dropped to 5 here in the lower Laguna or like South Texas, was that reactive or was that more of a?
It was reactive.
It was reactive. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So they had seen some type of studies that they
That's
were
right. I do a PowerPoint presentation on empty stringers. It's part of it.
Okay.
Did a little bit of research, and yeah, it was a reaction.
Yeah. So one of the big things I think stringers, specifically full stringers, people post them and do out there. It's a form of validation. It's a form that, hey, I'm a fisherman, and whether I'm a guide or a person or just a guy who goes out on the weekends, I'm good at fishing, and here's my proof that I'm good at fishing. And I think, and that was social media. I mean, people, you can see everyone that's doing it, right? So what would you tell the person that says that I need to show a stringer a fish to show that I'm a good fisherman?
That's up to them.
You know, they can do it. All I can say is we love the sport so much that there's a passion in it. And just think about the future. You know, ask yourself, like when I go shopping for something, I ask myself, do I want it or do I really need it?
That's a big thing.
So ask yourself, do I have fish in the freezer or don't I have fish in the freezer? Can I be sufficient with what I got at home? Let the rest go. You know,
Eat a
because
steak, right? Eat a steak.
yeah, you eat a steak. No, I mean I eat fish too, and it's a fine line. Which, yes, okay, you want to eat those fish, that's quite fine. But if you're going 3-4 times a week and you're bringing the full stringer, you know,
Yeah.
man, you
a
know,
lot of fish.
Maybe
Yeah.
a little excessive, right? I mean,
You're not HUE, right? You're not the HUE guy. You know.
But
It's-
it's within their legal limits, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
the question is, are the legal limits? And like you said, do we respond proactively or reactively? This grassroots type conservation program is definitely a proactive way to kind of increase awareness. And it's almost, like we're self-policing ourselves, right, to a certain extent. But it would be nice for kind of regulatory type agencies to kind of have a more proactive type, but it's hard, right?
But-
that's a
what-
big engine, buddy.
I know it's
That's
big.
a-
I know that's what I say. Like it's
That is,
hard, right?
Don't get me started. I was in law enforcement 22 years, and I've been to the state capitol. I've testified for the State Affairs Committee. I mean, to get a law passed, it's very.
But what do
very
you think the
challenging.
reason is that they won't be proactive to it? Like, in other words, by putting a law, in other words, is there a business tied to it? Is there money tied to the fact
It's like
that them saying
$2.2 billion a year.
Oh,
on
absolutely. I
fishing
mean, all the
and
boats we
industry,
talk
yeah,
about.
No,
yeah.
no, but what I'm saying is that's fine. But what I'm saying is changing the limits. I mean, dude, how would that necessarily tie to the purchasing of boats? Let's say, is there a direct tie to that? I mean, is that a question being asked? Like, in other words, if I go from 5 trout to 3 trout, is that going to change the purchasing of fishing gear or fishing boats or anything like that?
Probably not. But they would have to have scientific data
Absolutely.
to support any
prove it, yeah.
movement on trout up or down or reds or whatever the fish may be, right? And there may be an abundance of 15 to 16-inch trout in the lower Laguna Madre, which would counterdict lowering it to 3,
Yep.
right? So
Absolutely, yeah.
So how do you address that?
Yeah, it's hard, right? You just kind of pull things from the sky. Like,
You said-
I have a little slogan that I don't often say, but it seems like this is the way I think. The older I get, the more I brag about the ones that I let go than the ones that I've kept. I live by that.
Yeah, it's experience, right? It's like you remember them, right? You're just like, oh yeah, I remember that 30-inch trout or whatever it is, the biggest fish I caught, and let it go, and there it goes, right? And so
You
someone
know,
else can experience too, right? So
Right now, I'm running about 50% catch and release on my charters. So 50% of my trips are catch and release and 50% keep fish.
is yours about the same way?
40, 50, yeah.
50,
Yeah.
pretty close.
Over the 3-year period, I know we're definitely over that number, but in a 3-year period, we have released, because we keep tallies, how many fish were released for the day. Over 6,300 keeper fish, legal fish, were released back into the water. So that not only the 6,300, those are, most of them are making babies.
Right, yeah.
And so we're making a small impact, and
And
we
the
just
beauty of
hope.
it is that it shows a notoriety. Going back to the question that he says, showing a full stringer shows a notoriety of I'm a good fisherman, I'm not a good fisherman, and so forth. I mean, there's proof right there that you didn't keep any fish, but I don't think anybody's gonna disagree with me that you're a heck of an angler, or both of you. So it's like it doesn't matter. And I just love those posts that you all put without any fish on the stringer. That's just, to me, that is your silent gut punch of saying, what, I caught all these fish, but look what we're coming back with. And to me, that's a real angler.
And we thank that to our clients.
Yep.
Because if it wasn't for them,
That's
where
awesome.
would we be?
Yeah, because they're the ones that participate in it.
Yeah.
One thing I was gonna say, now with the GoPros and all these cameras, you can videotape everything that you do,
Oh, yeah.
and it's like you don't have to keep the fish.
Yeah.
I got more likes on my releasing of my 28 than I ever have on a full stringer.
Yeah.
It was.
And you will.
And I
you
got a
will.
sticker from the guys from Speckled Truth. So they saw the video and they sent me a sticker, and now I have it in my boat. All proud. I was like, that's right. I released a big trout.
Yeah, I think the big thing is here, and this is more like a social issue that we need. So, like, people naturally or human beings need some sort of social proofing to validate what the things that we do and the things that we like. And a lot of times that we do things for the number of likes, right, or whatever it is, right? Where we need to do things that make us happy and things that we enjoy. And like you said, it's just going out there catching fish. That's what I enjoy, and I don't need to prove to anyone that I am or I'm not a good fisherman, because I won by being out on the water. And for me, it's a good day of fishing. We've heard this cliche that good day of water is better than a day at work. But it's that idea that I've already won because I'm out fishing. I'm out on the water. I'm doing what I enjoy to do, and this is a win. This is what I came to do. I didn't come to and regardless, fishing can be any way you want it to be. It can be waiting on a boat, waiting or fishing off a boat.
Hey, I wear my waders on the boat. It's okay.
but it could be whatever you want, right? So just get out there, enjoy it, enjoy being out there, and just kind of enjoy the experience, really.
Yeah, that's all we're doing. I mean, we're not looking for notoriety.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about. We're just tied a name to something, said it was excessive. We thought it was too much. Let's do something about it ourselves, and that's where we're at.
Our passion.
Yeah. And
It's a great program. I mean, it's a great program, guys. I got to say that I follow you guys, both of you, on Facebook, and I see the Empty Stringer, and it's a great program. It's something that when I go out there, like I said, I do think about it. It was like, man, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that y'all have those clients that are willing to say, hey, you know what? It's like what you said earlier. It's about the experience. I'm gonna pay for a fishing experience, not for a meat haul.
Yeah.
And that is great from you all, but also great from your clients. Which leads me to the next questions. The guys that go with you, are most of these people experienced anglers, or are you getting a lot of people that are not experienced anglers?
First-time fisherman type of thing.
Participating on an empty stringer trip, I'd say most of them are experienced.
Most of them are.
And it's everybody that goes with you. It's the entire charter. If it's
That's
several
right.
people, it's
It has to be consensus. Everyone on the boat on that trip has to agree that we're either going to do empty stringers or we're not.
okay. So okay.
And they have to keep tallies of the keeper fish that are
you log
being
them, yeah,
released,
yeah.
and we log it down
So the 6,300 was between both of you? Or is that
Yeah.
just
between both of us.
That's still a lot of fish.
That's a lot of fish. Yes.
That's a lot of fish. So y'all have
It's more
impacted.
than I've
you know.
ever caught.
You
so.
might, like you said, it might be a small impact, but it's an impact that not all of us can say, hey, we made an impact.
Well,
And that's not to say when I go fishing on my own, or we go
Yeah.
fishing together, we go fishing with friends, it's rare that we keep fish. We let them go.
I think y'all should invite me with y'all. That way I can see what it's about. I'm just throwing
to
that
see
out
what
there.
it feels like to release
Yeah.
it. Maybe.
I'd say bring your checkbook.
I tried.
So related to impact, so I mean, I know it's been 3 years. There's been a lot of fish. Is there any sort of like are you catching more fish? Are you catching bigger fish? I know it's hard with just two people, right? We talked about there's a lot of people on the water and a lot of pressure out there, but with you two people and some of the other guys that are doing it as well, have you seen any impact? That was one of our questions from Camille.
It's tough.
It's
to
tough
say.
to see it, right? Yeah.
Some days we grind, and some days we have a good fishing days. You know.
I can say from, again, talking from 88 to, the early 90s, that we don't nearly have the amount of fish that we used to have. I could go into Rattlesnake on the month of June in the late 80s, early 90s, and you'd find a school of about 200 to 300 redfish, and they would stay there for 2 months at a time.
Yeah.
And you're fishing the same school. And nowadays, they may go in there, but they maybe 2 days at the most because of all the pressure and stuff.
In June,
There's a lot of boats.
gotta remember that.
They're not there anymore.
Oh man.
They left yesterday.
They got smart.
So, and there's just some general questions. I mean, there's one here about just people respecting limits, specifically at Game End Bridge, and some of the impact that has to do. I mean, that's a different question. I mean, I think respecting limits. I mean, that's where we're drawing the line here. We're saying that we're doing things within our legal, within the limits, but anything beyond that's never promoted, and it should be strictly enforced. And I know, so I think we can cover that one. The other question we had is. And I know we touched about it a little bit, but I guess it's more of a comment that Camille also said was that some of the guides think that participating in empty stringer, they can't afford to do it, and they can't, or they think it's going to affect the number of charters. So, but I think what Ernest said earlier was pretty spot on. You can be creative, right? You can do different things out there, and whether you donate your time or donate something, there's something that you can physically do as a guide. To participate in it, and
look at another aspect. How many people out there, when you're walking down the mall or down somewhere where they say, "Hey, we're offering this for free"? How many people say, "Hey," they jump at it. "Oh, this is free," And so you can be creative, and one of them is offer a free trip for those of you that participate in empty stringers, and it's going to cost you 1 day of fishing. But not only you're helping conserve, but you're also getting those conservation-minded anglers on board. Yep. So you're actually kind of, don't sound to be mean, but you're kind of weeding out and getting really the prime, crop.
And here's the beauty of if you donate a trip, especially, I don't know how it is in the Upper Coast, but down here, if you donate, like we donate a trip for empty stringers, usually they're gonna come back. Number two, they're going to fish 2 days, right? They'll do your empty stringer day 1 day, and then they'll fish the next with you.
Yeah.
And so it's a half off.
It's a break even, yeah.
I think even as a guide that, again, I'm sure you have guides either watching or saying, well, I can't afford to do that, and this and that. But I think even offering just a discount on the next trip. You if you want to participate in the empty stringer, the next trip I'll give you 30% off or whatever. You're still going to get that client back. You may not make as much money, but you're still, one, participating in this program, and two, or in any program, and two, you're also getting another client, but you're still giving something back. Like I said, being creative is probably the best way to
offer. Hey, would you like to participate in empty stringers? I do. Instead of doing a half day, I'm going to take you out for a full day.
There you go.
Just being creative.
Yeah, so there's different ways people can do it. I think that's the big thing. Like, just get out there, and people have to have this mindset too. Again, like, I don't need to show piles and piles of fish to prove to anybody that I'm a good fisherman. Now, you can do that as a person. It's hard as a guide, right? Because a guide wants to go out there, and people want to see, like, well, I'm booking a guide, and you guys definitely have a name for yourself, and people recognize your names, and they know who you guys are. But some guys may just be starting. He doesn't have a name, and the only form of validation that he has is just pictures of fish, right, and out there, and so it's hard for him to go out there, and it's hard for him to compete with with you guys out here. But I mean, you guys stay booked, but he's struggling to find his booking for the next thing, right? And so naturally, the next thing he does is cut his prices, and then he finds himself in a situation where he kind of makes it hard for him to remain competitive.
Well, I have a tip for that particular scenario that I'll tell you what a lot of what sells trips as good as or equally as good as what you're describing, a stringer shot, is action shots of a trout or a red jumping out of the water when he has his phone going or video going. Yeah. And you can screenshot those perfect jumps.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
right? That is attractive.
Yeah, that was
Somebody
one of the comments
just
we had
put
here.
that.
Oh,
yeah.
well,
Yeah, action shots made it much better. Ernest and Wayne are awesome taking cool shots of releases and action shots.
so
yeah.
so that is that right there. I mean, you want to be in on that action and not 5 trout, 3 reds laying on a
Yeah,
table, right?
yeah, and so you have to go with that mindset, right? So it's you just gotta again, you have to have this mindset that okay, I don't need these. I'm going to show the action shots, right? And so then that changes your kind of. You can't take a action shot at the end of the day when you're at the boat ramp.
No,
right?
they'll
It's
say
like-
this
yeah,
guy's on fish.
Yeah, that's why I say like he's on fish, right? So he's got to do it that way, and it's got to change it and change his mindset. So
One of the questions is the pricing the same for your trips, whether you do empty stringer?
Yep.
Price
It's
is
the
the
same.
same.
So no, I definitely talked. I mean, we talked a lot about the conservation here, the overall gist of it, what you guys are trying to accomplish out here. At this point, I'll open it up to you guys to see if there's anything that we didn't talk about the empty stringers that you guys want to bring to light.
Ernest wants to read a book.
Yeah, highly recommend this book,
Okay.
The
What-
Plugger.
Okay. With the
Okay,
plugger
by
by.
Rudy Greger.
Rudy Grigger.
Okay.
And I was reading it on the plane, and I ran across this, and I want to just kind of read a small paragraph. Yeah, I do use glasses undercover. This is what a comment from Rudy Grigger, or someone making a comment about him. He claims to have caught more than 1 million pounds of game fish. Whatever the amount is, it's outrageous. Yet Grigger became one of the first voices of catch and release on speckled trout and redfish. This was not just lip service. He enjoyed releasing fish. I watched him do it as early as the mid 70s, back when regulations on saltwater finfish stood between slim and none. He realized, here's important, he realized sooner than most that the Gulf had limits to the abuses inflicted by man. And that hit me right here. It's like, I wish people could see that, what I see.
We have direct control over that, right? That's a nice thing. There's some of these other variables that Wayne described here that we don't have direct control over, right? But this we do. So, yeah,
And somebody identified it in the 70s.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
And again, if somebody wants to do a good read, this is the book, okay, The Plugger.
I think it's just, I mean, going back, you said, you guys aren't looking for the notoriety and things like that. And I think it's obvious that you're not looking for it, but the beauty of it is that you guys have attained that notoriety and still taking part in this program. And I think it goes back to what he was saying, you have, companies like Sims and PowerPole that are taking part in this. And you're not so, great anglers that look up to these companies. Once they see that these companies are taking part in that, I think it's going to make a big difference. And having those notable, fishermen, anglers, tournament winners, whatever it may be, taking part in this, it's going to send a much deeper message. Whether if I go and say, hey, I'm an empty stringer program, well, who are you? You don't fish every day, you don't, whatever. So it's like having those notable people, I think, is very, very important for them to have that. And going back, watch your fishing shows. That's when I started getting into the whole, more conservation is I started seeing these Elite Redfish Series, tournaments and the Rudy's Redfish Series. And I'm seeing these tournaments and they're all catch and release. And that's the amazing part. These are your top anglers going out there catching the fish, and they have no problem with catching the fish, weighing it in, and releasing that fish.
Bassmaster.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
the Freshwater
It's
figured
awesome
it out
to
a long
see
time
that.
ago.
Yeah. Fly fishermen.
Yeah.
Most guides,
it's
most-
experience, right? It's
Yeah.
getting out there. So I really think so. I know you guys put a program around it, but really, I mean, it sounds like the empty stringers is really a mindset, right? It's this mindset that recognizing two things. One we talked about here pretty frequently or several times is that it's about the experience, the passion that you're going out there. That's part of that framework that goes in that mindset. The other thing is that there's a balance, right? There's a balance. So obviously people like to eat fish and whatever, and just and being aware of what that balance is for you, right, as an individual, right? So I'm not gonna take this fish and home because I've got stacks of freezers or stacks of fish in my freezer out there. So managing that balance, but maybe I'm gonna take a fish today, or maybe I'll take 2 fish today, or we haven't caught fish and whatever, and we, whatever. Understanding that balance and being aware of it, and not bringing fish in the sense of trophies for say in Ziploc bags and just say, hey, look, I caught a bunch of fish, and how many likes am I going to get on this post, right? So just having that, it's a mindset in my opinion, and just going out there, because obviously you guys have a program around it, and the name Empty Stringer is out there, but anyone can achieve the same thing, right? It's
Absolutely.
changing this,
And
this
it's
mindset.
called Empty Stringers Challenge.
Catch and release program.
Catch and release
Catch and
program.
release program.
So anyone that wants to learn more about this, I mean, do you guys have anything on Facebook or Instagram specific to MC Stringers?
We have a Facebook page.
Okay.
You know, we're lagging in that particular area, so to speak. Yeah, you know, we're both pretty busy.
Yep.
But we do have a Facebook page, and we if we have an Empty Stringers trip, it always ends up there.
Yep.
Whether it's us sharing it from our personal Facebook page or us going straight to the Empty Stringers page and pushing it out. So it's always out there when we have a trip on Empty Stringers.
Yep. And so one thing I think would be, you know, in the sense with social media where people can connect in a lot of different ways is kind of, you know, we said each guide can do it individually, right? And I think as part of this page that you guys have or this community, you can list out guides that you guys know that associate themselves that have their own form of an empty stringer program, right? So right now, when I think MC Stringers, I'm thinking YouTube, but I don't know. I can't tell you if the other guy next door, my buddies that are guys have it, right? And so, or even offer it, or would even be open to it, right? So as you guys continue to push this message out, I would just say here's a list of all the guides in the Lower Laguna Madre that have some form of it. Now their prizes and gifts may be different, but that's up to them, right? But they participate in this broader or this vision that we're going to self-police ourselves and regulate and improve our conservation of fish. So it's a community. You're trying to change people, and I think opening it up to that, and not only that, like I think opening it up and you guys recognizing them, that adds some credibility to me as a guide, right? So now it's like, okay, well, Wayne and Ernest are like they've recognized me, and I get some sort of credibility on there. Now guides, that someone that may have not booked me or not known about me, they come to this like, oh, this Sam,
Yeah.
I'm not a guide, right? But Sam has an Empty Stringers program, right? Whatever, and now I want to go to him, and they found me through you guys, but it's through this association, that community that we're going to conserve, right? And I really think,
And we've done a little bit about that in the past, where we've made announcements of, you know, guides that had been wanting to participate.
I think
We've
just
done our part.
recognition also, just recognition of what the program is. You know, I'm thinking I own a Jeep, and I don't know if you don't own a Jeep, it's the Jeep Wave. It doesn't matter if you own it, you know, if you know the person or not. You drive past the person with a Jeep and you give them a little wave because they own a Jeep as well. You know, just having, you know, because I think you kept saying like they all have their own version, but I think if we all participate, or who wants to participate in the Empty Stringers program and growing that program alone, you know, with a simple decal over your inspection sticker, you know, and there you go. Hey, that's one of my fellow
well, like
Empty
Victor
Stringer
said, he
programs.
got that sticker for releasing that truck.
Exactly.
Right? So they do something like that pretty
So something simple like that I think would be cool. But again, just so that we can, again, create that community of he's part of the club,
Yeah.
you know, so to speak.
Well, that can take form and go. You know, we're just doing our
Yeah,
doing
well,
our thing.
and by all means, I mean we're willing to help do that as well too, right? So we've got a little bit of knowledge in kind of how to do social media stuff too. So if anything that we can help with, we're
Definitely.
part of it too, and we're here to promote and support the fishing community and
Well,
programs like yours.
I'm taking the challenge, and what I mean by that is I'm going fishing Monday, and I'm gonna do an empty stringer on my boat. So I'm not gonna push it on anybody else in my boat, but for myself, I'm doing a catch and release on Monday. So
Hopefully, fishing will be good, and you can release a bunch of them.
And post it on Empty Stringers.
But,
Yeah, they can post it
Yeah,
on,
you can
on
tag
Empty
it, or
Stringers. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What it's,
So
your
one
tag?
thing that would be really cool, and this is like I'll talk to Fabian to see what we might be able to do, but just kind of have like, so you guys know your tally, right? But Victor's gonna go out and he's gonna release, maybe if he catches any fish. He hasn't been on fish lately, but you know, even you know, collectively as a community, you know, we actively went. Like you said, you don't go fishing and don't catch any fish and say, oh, it was an empty stringer day, right? Like with the people that go with the mindset, it's going to be an empty stringer fishing day, and let's collectively keep a count or an estimate of the number of fish, because between you two guys is 3,000 or 6,000.
6,000.
But if you look at, you know,
I'll probably catch up to them in about a year.
You gonna fish every day?
Just about. I'll be there at Best Pro Shop, putting it back in.
but yeah, just having to see the scale, the impact of it, right? So one of the questions earlier was that we talked about was, do you see an impact in it? And it's hard to see the impact in actual fish, but you know the impact. There's a number, there's a metric too that you can assign to it. Look, here's the chart. Here's where we were a year ago. Here's the number of fish we get, and then collectively as a group, and then that could be the metric. That could be the impact, right? It doesn't matter if the fishing's better or worse, right? Whatever, because there's other agencies that are regulating, right? And they're going to have a big impact. Probably the biggest impact outside of environmental type things, but just being able to say, look, in 2019, this is how many fish we did, and whatever, show that chart and that plot, and it tells an awesome story. I think it's a perfect cause, and I really think it's really.
One thing I want to ask about, Eric says that the program it's awesome, but he says the education that you receive is worth it. So when you go with you out for the empty stringer, there is an education part of it, or is it just we're going to go out and fish? And then
Well, just today, I may explain. They say, why do you release all your snook? Because, most people don't know that all snook are born males. And a certain percentage, they don't know what percentage, but as they mature, they turn into females. So, yes, there is some education about it.
I just learned that yesterday, actually, from Mark.
fly
And the
fishing,
fly
me
fishing,
too.
we were tying flies, and Mark
and
explained
then
it to us.
when you said you do a PowerPoint
I was
or
about to touch on that.
Yeah, we do seminars on occasion, and I've done some for middle schools, CCA, done a couple at CCA. We're doing one next year at Empty Stringers, done one at Bass Pro Shop. We're doing one December in Houston at Fishing Tackle Unlimited. We put together a PowerPoint, and we talk about the Empty Stringers program, what it's about, some data supporting some of the numbers that we come up with, and educate people on exactly what it is, how it works, how long. Same thing we've already covered today, and goes into. There's several. Well, anyway, Empty Stringers is one of our PowerPoints.
And we got invited for next year's Kids Fish Day they have in Brownsville,
Okay.
yeah.
where they have, thousands of kids. We got invited to be, part of the
when
presenters.
they're young, yeah.
Yeah.
Teach them when they're young, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
that's important. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's
so
culture, right? You grow up with it.
and doing PowerPoints is fun, and you meet people.
And just so you know, I mean, it is, obviously very important, and it's also, you're again going back to your notoriety. I don't think we've received that many views on our upcoming shows, and just in this one, I think we had close to 8,500 people that saw the fact that you guys were coming here today.
That's because we paid them.
They're all kids in
we
China.
need to start doing that.
Yeah,
but
so
it
whatever we
shows
did, we
that
gotta do it again, so.
that you guys you're getting out there, in regards to what it is, what it's about, and I'm hoping we get that many views because again, it goes back to the education part.
It's pretty cool being part of this program, and we thank our clients foremost. And without our sponsors, and again, I want to mention Fishing Tackle Unlimited, Sims, Costa, help me if I forget some, Power Pole, AFCO, K Wigglers, any other one?
Shallow Sport, Ron Hoover.
Ron
SCB.
Hoover, very, very supportive, without a doubt, in helping being part of the program. And without y'all, this program would not be available to our clients.
Well, it would be. And we'd come up with something.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We'll be able to offer
pack of lures.
Back of lures. You can catch more fish and release more fish next time with this lure. So
We got a hookup there.
Yeah, but it's cool
a
where
guy.
you see
know a
the
guy.
conservation-minded companies coming to us, and that's pretty cool. And we talk about it. We just like, wow, that's pretty cool, and we get excited about it.
That's awesome.
Because there's been times, down the road where we do see all these fish pictures. I'm gonna be honest with you, on the fillet table, on stringers, and on their backs, and it lets us down. Like, man, but.
again,
we
it's,
just
it's,
keep
it's
trucking.
education.
There's
right?
something
It's
there
just
because
like-
we've all been there.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. We've been there. Yeah.
I mean, guilty. But right now,
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm taking the Epsom Stringer Challenge on Monday, so I'm, having this conversation has obviously done something and says, hey, I want to be part of this.
Yeah. And again, all this program started because of that. We were
right.
doing that.
We were.
And we said, we need to do something
Part
about
of the PowerPoint presentation that we have is if you're going to be a critic of yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely,
I have a
that's where you
critic.
start.
I have a stringer of fish on his boat. That
Incriminate.
this. I mean, I still feel bad about it. I really do. Like, what am I doing to my profession? What am I doing to my future? What am I doing to the fishermen behind me? What am I doing? Wake up.
That's
And
that self-awareness. I mean, and that's, I think it'll click on a lot of people, and a lot of, I think it goes back to the whole, so I think the younger crowd feels that social media, whatever it is, is important. I think the older you get and the more educated you get and the better you get in fishing, that kind of goes away, and your more self, fulfillment is a lot more important.
And that comes with age and experience.
Exactly.
and
But we
just
can
kinda
also use I guess I'm the young one, so we can also use social media to our advantage.
Well, that's
where
what
it's
we're
kind of
doing,
like
yeah.
what they were saying, having that action shot that you can now. I can have my GoPro going the whole day, and I can just go into the video, and I see the action shot, and boom, I can take that picture. I don't have to be shooting pictures all the time. So that's one way. If the younger generation needs a validation, we can do it through social media. We could do it through the GoPro. I'm not saying
other ways to
GoPro
do
because I own GoPro. Not sponsored by anybody. I'm just saying that, right? But we can use it to our advantage. We don't need that whole stringer full of fish. We just need that good shot of saying, "Hey, look what we were at. Look at this beautiful fish that we put, on a lure,
If
on
you
our boat,
even
and we
need
let it
any
go."
validation, I think that's
true.
that would be the challenge, right? And I would challenge that in the first place. You don't need any validation, and validation comes from like you just maybe insecurities. Maybe I don't know what the right word is, but really, just get out there and do it because you enjoy doing it. Like being out there because you enjoy loving it, not because you're not for the picture. Don't go out there for the number of likes you're gonna do. Don't go fishing
And
for that, right? Go out there because you love doing it, and if you love recording it, like other people love watching that stuff
Yes.
too, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
like people watch YouTube channels and videos of people catching fish, and because they enjoy fishing, right? And you can't fish when you're at work, but you can watch.
Videos for your work, yeah.
When I go on a trip and I book a fishing guide, the first thing I tell them is, look, I could care less if I catch a fish or not. I said, but give me an experience that I'll
Absolutely.
remember
Yep.
for a while.
Yep. And that's got to be the mindset, man. It's just. Get
And
out
we
there.
talked about this. I do have a little boat. I have a little shallow sport, and I want to be a guide. My goal is to become a guide. And me and Sam were talking about this, about validation, and I said, I need to put fish on the boat. I need to show this. And maybe at the beginning, that's where us as young, people that want to be guides, that's when we might think. But you guys have been doing it for a long time. That's where we can learn and say, hey, I don't need to go that way. There's other ways that I can
is
go
what
about
the big
it.
thing is, yeah.
Yeah,
And so-
'cause we've had conversations about. Sam has told me, Victor, you don't need all those fish on the stringer. Just relax. And I tell him, just because you don't catch anything.
Yeah, well, I tell them to share them with me because my grandpa likes to eat fish, and my mom too. But all right, well, I definitely appreciate you guys coming out here. I know Ernest came from Brownsville and Wayne came from Port Mansfield, so I know both of you guys have a long drive back here. But thank you very much, sincerely. We Fabian, Victor, and I definitely are happy you guys are here. We're very proud of what you guys are doing and big supporters of it. For me personally, like it takes people like you. I say like you, but people that are up in the front, right? So you guys have some popularity within the fishing community here in South Texas and even actually along the coast and other places too, like you said. But I think it's going to take people like you, people with influence in the local fishing community to kind of push us in that direction, right? And I think you're in the right step. You're taking those right steps. It's been 3 years in getting there. And kind of just the only suggestion was to try to increase the number of guys and try to help them, right? Use your platform or your recognition or your badges to help other people come up and say, hey, this guy Victor's here, and Victor participates in Empty Stringers, and help them like that, so that they don't think they need these forms of validation. And so I think there's an opportunity to continue to grow this, and I actually really think like in 3, 4, 5 years, or maybe sooner than that, it's gonna be a lot more, right?
Grow.
And again, people are gonna be out there, and again, just the big thing is, I'm not going fishing to bring home a bunch of fish, and that's really where it starts. So.
I guess before we close, I want to thank Eric, also Doobie,
Yep.
for actually giving you all the call in regards to that. And I'll be very honest with you, and I think if hopefully you guys allow me to do this, but anybody who is watching, you can come up to these guys and talk to them. I just didn't want to call y'all, personally. I said these guys are again, just out of respect. Honestly, I respect the heck out of both of you, and I've followed you guys for many years, and just out of respect, I don't want to be just any old Joe call these guys up and say, hey, can y'all be on our show? And so I want to thank Eric for that,
Eric.
and again, just kind of, let everybody know y'all want to know more about this program. I think you guys are more than happy to explain.
Yeah, I mean, I answer the phone if it rings.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank y'all so much for being here.
So
Yeah, and By now probably my fish dinner has been getting cold. So just kidding.
Last thing. How do people get a hold of you guys? I know you guys people. Ernie, how do people get a hold of you?
We're both very active on social media. You can find me on Facebook under Ernest Cisneros, or on Instagram on Ernest Cisneros 1. Or you can call me at 956-266-6454.
And Wayne?
Same thing. Facebook. I've got Wayne Davis, K Wigglers. We both answer Empty Stringers messages. We have access to that Facebook page. Instagram is K Wigglers.
Okay.
And my phone number obviously is all over the Facebook.
Yeah. Give us a like on Empty Stringers page.
Yep,
Catch 'em
definitely
Release
go
Room.
check out their pages on Facebook, Instagram, and give them like, subscribe to what they do. And definitely like to thank all of you guys for staying tuned. I know it was a long video, but definitely the great audience or great members here today. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Any comments or questions you have, add them here, and we'll plan them along, and we'll try to answer them. I know there's still a few coming in here last minute, but we'll try to answer them via text and via online. So thanks again, guys, for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks.
Take that challenge.
In my mind, I've got 'em big red on the line. That's where I go when I'm itching to feed my 7-day addiction.